Hi there, my name's Vince from mymatevince.com, and in this video today I'm going to try and fix this Sega Mega Drive game. So this is Earthworm Jim, also known as Sega Genesis in other countries. So this was sent over to me by Mike from One Up Gaming, and he sent me a whole box of really interesting stuff. I don't want to give it away yet because I'm going to be doing videos on it now in the coming weeks. But on this particular game here, he's put down, he's given me a list of the faults on the different things he sent me, and on this one it says Mega Drive game. I've heated pin solder, still gives a black screen. Maybe it's resistor time. Now, if any of you have followed my channel for a while, you might remember I did a game called Bonkers, which I couldn't get working. It was actually a faulty chip. It was a Mega Drive game with a faulty chip on it. Well, then I did a revisit because I got a message from Rodrigo Lamas that said that if I put, I think it was a 1K resistor between the faulty pin and ground, that sometimes it can make the games work again. And I did that, and it did work. So I'm really looking forward to having a look at this. Funny enough, I was actually thinking about having a look on eBay to get some of these, so this couldn't have arrived at a better time. So I'm going to do the usual things. I'm going to make sure that the pins are clean here, and then I'm going to check for continuity between each of the pins and the chip. Make sure that the traces or the tracks all look intact. And then if that doesn't work, I'm going to have a look at the chip, and then we'll see if any of the pins are not reading the same as the other pins, obviously not the ground ones, and then that may indicate that that is a faulty part of that chip, and then we could try putting a resistor in to see if that makes it work. Now, I haven't even turned this on yet, so you can see my Mega Drive here is working. So let's plug it in just to verify that we have got a black screen. Right, okay, so it says there, that's come up there. But now it's not coming up with anything else. Now, I can't remember on my last ones, did it even come up with that thing at the beginning? I thought it didn't, so I'm wondering if this is going to be a problem with the traces. Looks like it's part working, doesn't it? Because if it wasn't recognising it at all, I don't think it would come up with that. I love working on these games here. Right, let's see what happens when I do nothing. Yeah, so that says to me that it is recognising it a little bit. Anyway, let's get it over to the blue mat. We're going to use a game bit socket here to undo these. Let's have a look on the inside and see what the problem is here. Right, so let's use this little game bit driver here. Just held in with two screws at the back. Ooh, a double chip one, right, okay. Well, I suppose with this now, that leaves, I suppose that's going to be harder, isn't it, because there's more to fault find. Also, the board itself looks perfect, look at that. Doesn't look to be any damage there whatsoever. That looks really good. A few little bits of fluff, that's just from where the flux would have been cleaned off from where it was heated up. Right, I'll tell you what I can see. I can see that the ones up here haven't got much solder on at all. Would it be worth, just to begin with, just tapping each of these with a little bit of solder just to make sure it's not a bad connection there? Oh, also look, we've got a solder missing on this pin here as well. That's a dry joint there, and here, look, there's solder missing on quite a few of them. And this, when it was heated up, it went through. So I'm going to get the soldering iron on, and I'm just going to tap. I'm going to reflow each of these because there's definitely iffy connections here. I mean, that one there, I'm not even sure if it's making. It does look like it's contacted on top. It's probably not going to be that, but let's just clean up each of these, make them look a little bit better, and then we'll test it again. Right, so that is everything on that board now reflowed. So I don't think that's going to make a difference. Let me tell you why. I think those little holes occurred during the heating up of it, because even just then when I was heating up some of them, I seen a hole would appear. So I suppose it's just where the solder's flowing through the hole. going right the way through, you know, the via to the other side, or the through hole. So, but I will just quickly plug it in now, and yeah, just to see if it has made any difference. Here goes. No, so exactly the same as before. So now this is going to be quite a tricky one for me, because there's more than one chip on it. So I don't know if that resistor thing will work. I mean, I don't know what the second chip is for. And there's another chip up the side as well, isn't there? Yeah. So yeah, I'm not quite so confident on this one now, but still, let's get a multimeter out and let's see if we can find out anything about this. So now we've got to try and work out what's wrong with this one here. Now, I'm pretty sure my sensible socker might have had 2 chips in. I'd need to double check the video. But that had a battery in it. It was a different design again. I'm not sure why there is 3 chips. Maybe the game is too big just to fit on the 1 chip. Not too sure. So this is going to be harder, because if we just had the 1 chip, all you need to check is, are the contacts clean? Are the contacts getting from there to the chip? And if they are, then you know the chip itself is faulty. But here we've got 3. I suppose the fault could be any one of them. And I don't know if, for example, this chip here is interchangeable between different games. But even so, I haven't got that many Mega Drive games. So I've only got a handful of them. So the chances of that being this, you know, the same chip in some of the others is going to be unlikely. Obviously, it's not worth me cleaning here. You can see that that is absolutely spotless. And I don't even know if it's worth me getting my multimeter out to check for continuity between here and the pins, because the traces just look absolutely perfect. You know, there doesn't seem to be any kind of, like, on the Sensible Soccer one there was a massive gouge going right the way across here which went through quite a few of the traces. This just seems to be perfect, so I think it is going to be a chip problem. What I could test is, I could test these components here. So they're labelled up as C1, C2 and C3, so they probably are going to be capacitors. Good news is that colour code seems to be the same on each of them, so if I unsolder them, then if the other 2 are testing, if they're all 3 are testing the same, then they should be okay. If one's testing different, it might indicate that that particular one is faulty, so it would save me even looking up the colour code. But would a capacitor cause this issue? Not too sure. Anyway, I'm going to get my multimeter out. I'm going to have a poke around for a bit and see if it shows up anything. I think I will do that resistor test just to see if anything happens. So from memory, I had to put it in diode mode, and then we put the red probe to the ground, so this one here is ground, and then I went across from this side, and then if something measured different, actually let me go into the probe here. Yeah, so forget about that first one, but if you look, that one's measuring 0.65, 0.65, 0.65, and I think it was pin 8. No. See, they're measuring the same, that's going to be just a ground. .59. Yeah, so you can see they're all sort of 0.68 or 0.59, aren't they? Well, that bottom chip, there's definitely a reading on each of the pins. So now I'm going to try the top chip. So when I say a reading, like a similar reading on each of the pins, there doesn't seem to be any abnormal ones. That's interesting. Every single chip is giving me a reading. Especially these two here. I mean, this one had slightly different ones, but I don't even know if that's the way to test that one. So I suppose now I might as well just look at the capacitors, just to see if they are showing anything different or not. And then I think if that's not that, I think I probably am just going to have to go across every single trace just to make sure, in case you see one of these vias might not be working properly. So although the traces look okay, but it is possible that you see these blue ones here. So for example, if it goes like this one here, where does that go to? That goes through the board and it comes up here. So there is a chance that maybe there's not continuity across a via. I suppose it could happen. Right, so this is a 16 volt 47 microfarad. So let's see if it's coming up on my meter. Is that 45? So that's fine. I'll just do a quick ESR. Right, 16 volt 47 should be 1.6 worst case scenario. Yeah, there you go. 0.13. So that capacitor's fine. There you go. So it's a capacitor and it's coming up as 32 nanofarad, and I think on here it was coming up as 29 nanofarad as well. And with this one it doesn't matter which way round it goes. So what I'll do is I'll take out the other two and see if they're both reading 32 as well. There you go. Yeah, capacitor again, 27 nanofarad, so it's pretty close. And there you go, 28 nanofarad. So although I haven't looked up the colour code, I'm happy that all three are reading the same. So I really don't think that it is them causing the problem. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to use a continuity test, and I'm just going to try to go across each of the tracks, because it's easier to do that than actually have to think what chip is faulty. And then if that doesn't show anything, then I'll have to actually go on to Google and I'll have to punch in each of these chip things here just to see. I'm more curious about this one. I'm pretty sure that these are both going to be for the game. I'm just wondering what this is for up here. So I might as well solder these back in now. Right, so that's all the capacitors soldered back in. So now I'm just going to do a continuity test on absolutely everything. So what I mean by that is putting the meter to here, and then it beeps every time it has continuity. So for example, if I just go onto this ground in the middle, you can see that it's going to be continuity with the outer one there, and it goes up here, 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 here. Yeah, so now for example from that capacitor it goes to that pin there, and then I can trace it back through. So I'm going to do that on every single one of them. No point in filming it because I'm going to be getting my head in the way, but if I find something that doesn't look right, then I'll start recording again. So I've gone across every single trace from here, from the pins going to every single destination, and from each of the pins they are going somewhere. So basically what's interesting is these two chips are completely connected to each other. So for example, can you see the bottom pin here will be connected to the bottom pin here. So this is the top row of the top chip and the bottom row of the top chip, top row of the bottom chip, bottom row of the bottom chip, yeah? And they're all connected to each other. So if I go there to there, it's connected. If I go onto the top pin, it's connected to the top pin. Next one along, yeah, next one, etc. Yeah, and the same with the bottom. Apart from the pin next to here, which goes to here, and then it goes up to no, not that one now, sorry, this one here. This pin here only goes as far as, it should come up on the bottom one here, but it doesn't. This one actually comes up to this chip up here, and then the corresponding pin on this one comes up to the chip here. Yeah, so it's interesting. So they do go off to that chip there from this chip, but that makes me think. Remember, I did the diode test earlier because of the resistor trick, let's call it. Well, if they were connected to each other, am I going to get a true reading? Because I'm just going to be reading the chip below, aren't I? I think I've got that right. So if I do diode test, and if I'm going from ground to each pin here, if that pin is connected to here, aren't I just going to be reading the top chip from there to there, even though I think I'm reading the bottom? I hope I'm correct in that, because I'm thinking the signal's going from ground to here, but because this is also connected to the top chip, it's going to be reading from the top chip to ground, as far as I can see. So what I'm going to do is, I'm kind of running out of options here. I still haven't looked up what this chip is on Google yet, but I am going to unsolder one of the chips. So for example, I might unsolder the top chip completely, and then you see I can actually test the chip out by itself, and then the one that's remaining I can test via the way you see me testing earlier with the red lead to ground and then going across them, and that way then I'm going to be able to test each chip separately. So the resistor trick still might work on this one, it's just that I could be getting a false reading because one chip could be perfect, which makes it look like the other chip is perfect. Again, I'm just going to be using the solder sucker and going across them. There we go. So now what this will allow me to do is do that test again, and then I can do the test on this one here. Now I know that this little notch is where pin 1 is, and here we've got a little circle by pin 1 as well. So all I have to do is find the ground again, and then I can do that test all over again. So let's do that now. That chip is still testing okay, so I'm pinning all my hopes now on this one here. So I just need to work out which one is the ground. So these are 42 pin chips, so there's 21 pins each side. Alright, so 10 along, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. This one here. So now I've just got to go across every single one again and see if we have any weird readings. Oh, I haven't got a reading at the end there, that might be normal, I'll check that in a bit. Oh, that pin there's a different reading, isn't it? Make sure I'm still on the right pin here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Right, so I'm just on that one. So that one's normal, but that one's not normal. Okay. Then I say, I say not normal. What have I got to compare it to? But it's giving me a different reading from the one below. I've got to double check that now on the other chip. Right, so there's two pins that look weird to me. This one isn't giving me anything. It's just the same as not being connected whatsoever. Yeah. And this one here, pin 11, 12, 13, no, pin 12 is giving me that reading there, which is Oh, hold on. No, it's not. Oh, yes it is. Hold on. 1 second now. 1 second now. Let's get a good... Yeah, look at that. So pin 12 is definitely... well, pin 12, no, that would be pin... That would be pin 8, wouldn't it, from that side? Let me write this down because I need to find out what pin 8 is. So it's pin 8 and also pin 42. Just double check on here. This is pin 42. Yeah. And pin 10 would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 6.8. One is interesting why that one is different. So I'm going to have a look online now and I'm going to type in these chips and I'm going to get the pin out and I'm going to see what these two pins do. So I've been looking up the 42 pin out for this chip here. So pin 10 looks like it's A2 and pin 42 looks like it's A19. So I think to begin with what I'm going to do is, and this is just clutching at straws because it's just going to be pure luck if it works, I think I'm going to solder this back in here and I think I'm going to put the resistor, the 1K resistor, between pin 10 and ground, and then I'm going to see if it works. If it doesn't work, then I think I will take off that resistor and put it between pin 42 and ground. And then that doesn't work, then I'll put a 1K resistor between pin 10 and ground and pin 42 and ground, and then call it a day because there's nothing else that I can do. I think that this is the suspect chip, but it's just pure guesswork. Now I was looking into what this chip is here, and again it doesn't mean anything to me. It's an SN74HC00N. It says quad 2 input positive NAND gate. Now I believe a NAND gate is a no and gate, but that doesn't mean anything to me. But what I think it does is it measures inputs, and it will only be when each of the inputs is, for example, 1, then it will output 1, otherwise it will be 0, or it could be if each of the inputs are 0 it will output a 1, but if it was like a 0, 1, 0 then it wouldn't output a 1. But I don't actually have a clue what that means in this instance here. I don't know, is that how maybe it reads between the different information on the chips? Is that what you need this for? I really don't know what is the purpose of this in this setup here. So that's what I'm going to do. It's just going to be pure luck whether it works or not. So I don't need to film the soldering of this putting back on. I will start filming when I get the resistor out. Right, so it's back on now, and also I've given everything a nice good clean. So let's go between the ground, which is this big trace here in the middle, this big one going down, and pin 10, which is this one here. Now it's going between here and here. So let's plug it in and see if that's made any difference. Right, so here goes. Alright, so it did that before. No, nothing. No, that hasn't made any difference. Let's try it one more time. Okay, let's move it over to pin 42, see if that makes any difference. Right, so now that is going between pin 42 and the ground here. Let's see if that makes any difference. And it's not shorting against anything else. Fingers crossed. Here goes. No. Oh. Well, I'll put another resistor in, but it's not going to happen. I think in this instance here, see, when I did the resistor trick before, from memory, nothing came up at all. And this time it is coming up with that Sega thing, so it looks like the very first bit is working. Oh, disappointed. Well, look, I'll do the other resistor just to finish off the video, but I don't think that's going to make any difference at all. What a shame. Okay, well, let's pop the other one in just to see if two of them go. But think about it. Why would two things go? You know, one thing's going to go. It's not going to be two things. I wonder, could it be that NAND gate? See, my problem is I don't even know the setup of it. If I had another one that was similar, then I would take the NAND off that, because I don't think that NAND gate thing would be specific to this one here. I think you would be able to swap them around, but I haven't got one of them. I don't really want to go ordering one if it's not going to be that. I'd rather, obviously if it was that, then I'd get one, but I suppose the chances are it's probably going to be one of the main chips instead. And why is there two of them? That's another thing I don't know. Is it just because the game's too big that it doesn't fit on one? Is that why you need the NAND chip? There's so many questions that I don't know the answer to. Right, let's whack the other resistor and see if it does anything. Again, you can see that we're going from pin 10 to ground. Remember, this whole side here is ground. So that's 42 and 10 with the 1K resistor on. I really don't think this is going to make any difference, but I haven't got anything to lose now. Again, nothing's going to short out on it. Here we go. Nope, nothing there. Right, I should double check. Clutch nut straws now. Yeah. And it's definitely not a connection thing. I don't need to be wiggling it and pulling it in and pulling it out a bit, but just to keep those people happy. Here we go, you ready? Out a tiny little bit there. It's just going to do the same thing. It's definitely not a connection problem. Right, so what I'm going to do off camera now is I'm just going to check to see if any of the games I have has got that little NAND gate chip in. And if it has, I'll try swapping it over. But I'm almost certain they're not going to have it in there. But I will quickly check that. Good news, I've had a look inside Sensible Soccer, and that also has a NAND chip in it. It's 14 pin. The markings are different, which is slightly worrying. But I had a look at the information online, and this also is called a 2-input NAND, and I've had a look at the pinout for it, and again the voltage is up here, ground is up here, and I think the pins are doing the same thing. Now it might completely blow, it might be different voltages or something, I'm not too sure. What I'm going to do is I'm going to swap them over. I'm actually going to put this one in here, and then we'll see if Sensible Soccer works with this NAND, and we'll see if this works with this NAND. It might just give us a bit more information. We're done. So we now have the Sensible Soccer NAND chip in the Earthworm Gym, and the Earthworm Gym NAND chip in the Sensible Soccer. So let's now see if that has made any difference at all. And also, I've taken all the resistors off the back. Let's go. Okay, I think I'm going to start with Sensible Soccer and see if that still boots up. Here we go. Oh, it does. Oh, that's annoying. So that means it's not the NAND chip at fault. So unfortunately, this isn't going to work because we know that the NAND is okay. Because it's in here now and it's working. But look, that's good because it saved me buying a NAND, and it's useful to know now that you can swap it in between different cartridges. So if you're ever doing fault finding and you suspect that chip, at least it looks like you can swap them out. I mean, I don't know whether later on in the game it's going to cause problems, but it's definitely booting up anyway. Oh, that is a shame. Right, let's try Earthworm Gym, but I know the answer is going to be that it's not working because there's nothing wrong with that chip. But I suppose at least it proves that the fault is definitely on the chips. Now, you can program these chips up. Actually, Gadget UK did it for me before on Paperboy. The only thing is, how would you program it up on 2 chips? And is that what you have the 2 chips for? Is it because there's not enough megabytes on 1 chip for the size of the game, so they had to put it on 2 chips? And if that is the case, how would you do that yourself? Is that simple enough, or does that cause a complete and utter nightmare? You know, to do the reading, to put it onto the EEPROM, how would you do it onto 2 of them? Do you have to split the game down the middle? Or it seems quite complicated. But anyway, I know this sounds sad coming from me because I can spend all day fixing something worth £5, but unfortunately it's really not worth it. So if I had the chips myself and the equipment, I would try to do it, but I haven't, and it's not something I'm going to go into, so I'm not going to get that equipment in. If I was to ask somebody else to do it for me, it wouldn't be fair because the chips cost money, you need 2 of them. Secondly, the postage to me is going to cost money, and that doesn't even take into account any time, and I'm sure to do that is going to take half an hour to an hour of anybody's time, even if they're used to doing it. And then of course I need to solder it back in, which is going to take another 20 minutes or so, isn't it, by the time you get your tools out and get it all set up and stuff. So yes, it's possible to get this game working, but remember it was £12.99, so that's £13 from eBay, and that includes postage and all the other things. You could probably get it cheaper if you were to go to some sort of car boot sale or something like that. So unfortunately it doesn't warrant it. The fix doesn't warrant the cost and the time involved. Real shame. I've done everything I can do on this video. I'm 100% sure the fault is with the chips. I wish I could have definitely proved which chip it was on. If I was to take a guess, I would say it was the top one because that was reading slightly different than the bottom one, but maybe it's supposed to. This game was always going to be harder to do because it had 2 main chips, so it was going to be harder to fault find and stuff. I still enjoyed doing it, and I did a little bit of learning with the NAND and stuff like that, but unfortunately this one is a failure. But I've been lucky recently. I've had a lot of ones that have gone my way, so it's only a matter of time before you have ones that don't work. And yeah, that's what's happened today. But look, hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and please subscribe for more trying to fix videos. Big thanks to Mike from One Up Gaming for sending this over to me, and I really do look forward to going through the rest of the box, and hopefully I'll have more success on some of the others. That's it. Take care, stay safe and stay sane. Bye now.